You're probably concerned when a disease spread by mosquitoes is in the area where you live, but it's absolutely understandable that you're also concerned about the health risk from your possible exposure to the mosquito management products that are used to reduce the number of people getting that disease in your area. So let's take a look at how the risks compare between Eastern equine encephalitis, a viral disease spread by mosquitoes, and some products used to manage the mosquitoes carrying the virus. If the virus causing Eastern equine encephalitis is circulating in the area where you live, we know from extensive research conducted over many years that the disease will result in 4 to 5 people out of every 100 people exposed to the virus. Of course, the disease rate could be much higher for older members of the community and for those with pre-existing health problems. For those who have the disease, 30 to 50 out of 100 people will die from Eastern equine encephalitis. And of those people who have the disease and survive, 50 out of every 100 will have long-term neurological illnesses. The numbers here are expressed as percentages to be consistent with the right side of the ledger. So now if we turn to the health risks associated with exposure to mosquito management products that are listed on the right side of this ledger, you can see that there are also percentages listed in bold red text. But those percentages don't refer to actual numbers of people like the disease numbers for Eastern equine encephalitis do. Instead, they refer to your exposure to the mosquito management product as a percentage of the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency's allowable exposure threshold. So how much EPA is allowing you to be exposed to each day in total. So your exposure to the mosquito management product known as a pyrethroid from all sources of exposure, not just from mosquito management, is estimated by EPA to be less than 1% of the threshold. Again, this does not mean that one person out of 100 exposed will be affected, will be harmed. Rather, it's that the total exposure is less than 1/100th of the EPA threshold. But now I want to focus on the next bit of information here. This risk assessment focuses on a single mosquito management product called pyrethrins, which is made from extracts from the chrysanthemum flower. In a peer-reviewed published risk assessment, the exposure to people after an area was treated by local public health professionals was estimated to be less than 0.009% of the EPA threshold. That's an exposure less than 1/10,000th of the threshold. Let's demonstrate this with a specific example. In fall 2019, the people in several counties in Michigan experienced an outbreak of Eastern equine encephalitis. Public health professionals in the affected area used a mosquito management product called Maris, which contained pyrethrins, the extracts from chrysanthemum flowers. If we think of the amount of exposure to Maris in terms of pennies, a person's exposure would be less than 1 penny. The amount of exposure it would take to reach the EPA's allowable exposure would be 10,000 pennies. So, as you can see, a person's exposure was much, much, much less than the threshold. Using the 2019 outbreak of Eastern equine encephalitis in the counties in Michigan, we can return to our ledger and see how the numbers fall out. Because 10 people had symptoms and were diagnosed with the disease, we estimate that 200 people were infected. Again, 10 real people developed the disease, 5 people died from the disease, and 2 to 3 of the 5 survivors would be expected to develop long-term neurological illnesses. And who knows how many more people would have been affected if the affected area wasn't treated. If we turn to the right side of the ledger and look at the risks to people from exposure to the mosquito management product that was used to treat the affected area, there would be no illnesses, no deaths, and no long-term effects. So the scientific evidence suggests that these mosquito management treatments are effective in what they're designed to do, which is to reduce the disease risk while posing minute risks to people.